Hi and welcome back. Today I'm going to show you how I mount my scopes on my rifles and why the scope should be square and what happens if it's not square. Over the years I've seen guys look through scopes and say, oh, that's off, and grabbing it, twisted it, it's like, oh, that looks better now. And obviously what they've done is not square at all, just going by eye. So my objective in this one is to show you why you should have your scope square, especially for longer range shooting, and how I do it. There's a million different ways of doing it, but the way I have set my table up for, so it's nice and easy, is I use a projection of the crosshairs onto a plumb line and a spirit level on the Picatinny rail, so you know the action is nice and square. This is how we do it. I have a little Picatinny mounted spirit level here with a bubble which tells me when the action is square and flat. Then I have my scope loosely mounted. I know how much eye relief I have. That's all set up beforehand, and I have it set in its rings, nice and loose. And against the wall, which you can see in the other picture, is a hanging plumb line with a weight on the end of it, and it's just a big piece of thread, so it throws a shadow. Now you'll see a shadow here. You can ignore that, that's just from the main light that comes in, but there'll be another shadow thrown behind it in a minute. So if I was to look through this and guess, I could get a pretty square, but I'm not going to get it all the way. So the first thing we're going to do is, your diopter will be pretty far in when you're ready. So we start off like that. You have your scope nice and square. You get your flashlight. So square up the action. There we go. We shine through. The first thing you notice is it's all fuzzy. So what you do is you dial out your diopter until you get it nice and crisp. There we go. It's kind of hard to do, and there we go. See a nice projection. It's nice and crisp. I turn my flashlight all the way up. There we go. So you have a nice projection, an upside down projection of the crosshair. And as we can see, it looks fairly close, but on the second camera you might see, I don't know if you can see, there's another shadow behind the thread which is being thrown from the light projecting from the scope itself. That's the shadow that I'm going to line up with. So I'm going to slide the butted rifle in a bit, so the crosshair is just beside the thread. I'm just going to make sure I'm still square. There we go, still square. And now we'll just rotate our scope so it's perfect, and you can see an equal distance shadow from the main crosshair all the way up and down the crosshair and all the way up and down the duplexes. So we know that's square. And the reason it is square is because that plumb line is being held dead straight down by gravity. The spirit level is giving me the opposite for the action. It's completely level and flat. I also have another little spirit bubble up on top that once you have this all leveled out, you can then level your spirit bubble for your long range shooting. Once you have that done, all you gotta do is tighten up just to make sure it's good and it's going to hold. And once again, just test it, because it's a good idea when you tighten, especially with some other types of rings, not these particular ones, but tighten with one on left and one on the right so that you don't roll it as you're tightening it down. So we'll just give it another quick look. So we're all square here, and we're all square there. Perfect. Now, I'll try to explain why you want to keep your scope square to your action. If you're shooting and you imagine your bullet goes out, let's take spin drift, Coriolis effect, wind drift, completely out of the situation right now. It just shoots out in a straight arc right in front of you. If you are looking with your scope right along that arc, you're always looking down the line of where the bullet is going. So your elevation will always be completely through, and your windage will be always completely at 90 degrees to it and through as well. If you're still shooting your same arc out, but your scope is at an angle, your scope is a couple of inches, an inch and a half above the center of your bore. So when you put your crosshair up and it's canted, first thing you're going to do, you're going to look through your crosshair and you're going to say, okay, well, I'm going to just quickly get this to my spirit bubble or to the horizon, and you cant the gun so your crosshair is straight up. Once your crosshair is straight up, you fire. But what you're actually doing is, instead of your bullet coming straight out and dropping onto the target, now that you're looking out at an angle, you're going to be slightly twisted. Even though your crosshair is dead straight, you're going to be like this. You're going to fire, and it's going to lob out to the left or the right, depending on which way you have your gun canted. Even the tiniest little degree will affect it, and the farther you go, the more noticeable it is. So you might have a gun that you put on by eye, and you set it up for 100 meters, and you can hit the target every single time in 100. Let's say your scope is twisted clockwise by, I don't know, let's just say 2 degrees. That's quite a lot, but that's 2 degrees. That's 120 MOA. We're going to just quick do the math in my head. If it's 100 meters out, and let's say you're going to shoot at 200, and you're going to your bullet will drop. Your bullet will drop probably an inch to the left at 200, or nearly 3/4 of an inch to the left at 200 meters, just by doing the quick math in my head. It's fine if you're going to be shooting at 100. You can put your crosshair, your scope on sideways. But if you're going to be shooting out past any distance, or changing your elevation, or doing dialing in your turrets, or just doing long range stuff, you have to get your scope crosshair and square to your bore. Now, assuming you have a decent scope, your scope crosshair and your turrets and your body should be square. In this case, it's nice and easy to square this one up because there's a flat bottom on this on the housing of this scope, and there's a flat bottom on the Picatinny rail. If you had a spacer, you could get in there and get it damn close to square. You can get special tools that have two angle inserts that you push, and it rises it up, and it gets completely square that way. You can stick a deck of cards in there. I've seen some guys doing it. Feeler gauges. As long as it's square, and you know the bottom of your scope is square, and you know your Picatinny level is, or your Picatinny ladder, your Picatinny rail is square, that's an easy way to do it. But if you have a round bottom scope, or you have the scope that has one of the springs that come out the bottom that you can't, you just don't have a base to, or you're not using a Picatinny rail, you can't level it that way. There's kits you can get. I think it's Wheeler make one called the level, which sits in your action on top of your scope turret. But not every scope turret is square. These particular ones I know weren't square when I got them, because there was a shock absorbent in the washer. I took that out, they're completely square now, but they weren't square with the washer in there because it was very hard to sit them perfect. But yeah, that's the reason. I'm going to try and draw it up. If you're going to do any kind of long range shooting, you really do have to have your gun all squared up, or else you're just going to be finding your shots drifting closer than zero, they'll be drifting one way, and farther than zero, they'll be drifting the other way. Alright, thanks for watching.